Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode of Behind the Signs. We are chatting with Oren Dowdy of SignCorp in Winter Haven, Florida. Oren, welcome. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us today.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so as we were chatting earlier, I went to your website. You guys do impressive work, lots of electric signs. Tell us a little bit about your sign shop, how you get in the business, and how long you've been able to stay sane and run a shop.
Yeah, well, I kind of stumbled into the business. It was in the mid 80s. I had started in the early 80s in the graphics business. I was a pinstriper, so I would travel to car dealerships and pinstripe cars and put on accessories like wheel well moldings and luggage racks, sunroofs, that kind of thing. And I used to, when the old 4B sign maker came out, I would go to the sign shops and I would ask them for lettering like Trans Am or Camaro or something of that nature that we would install in the rocker panel of these vehicles. And back in the 80s, that was a big deal. That was a big thing. And they never had my product ready on time. So I ended up buying a Super Sprint machine, which came along after the 4B, and started cutting my own vinyl, and it kind of grew from there. I started doing vehicle lettering and storefront windows. And I had a client that I did an emergency storefront window for, and we got done with the job. He asked me if I wanted to do their other 35 stores, and absolutely. I thought I'd hit the jackpot. And so he asked me if I did signs, and I looked up, and there was a set of channel letters there, and I said, absolutely. And of course, I'd never done a sign before.
How hard can it be?
How hard can it be? And so that's, I'm fairly mechanically inclined, and I know how to navigate whatever I set my mind to. So that's it. That's in a nutshell, back in the mid 80s, how I got into the electrical sign business.
Well, like me, you seem like a young at heart sign guy. So how many years have you been in the business? About 80s. Well, so you're looking at what, 35 years ish?
Yeah, I would say we're closed in 35, 36 years in the sign business. Yeah.
That's great.
We've been at it a while.
I came into it a little later. I started my first sign shop when I was 32. So it's been about 25 years ish for me. So looking at your website, you guys do a ton of what looks like electric sign projects and like national rollouts and stuff. What are some of your favorite projects that you've worked on over the years? Well,
again, we kind of happened into it, and the mindset we had then and still do is we're always learning. We're always networking with other sign companies, learning, and asking questions. Hey, how can I do this better? So, project-wise, we have done a lot of conversions, like bank conversions, hospital conversions, things of that nature. And those are great projects. We do the one-offs too. We do the mom and pops, and any kind of on-premise signage. We don't do any off-premise. But our favorite projects are the high-rise signs. That's something not a lot of people do. Yeah. And it takes a lot of research, a lot of homework, and a lot of coordination. So we enjoy that. Because it's rare that a sign company gets to do that kind of work.
Yeah, we did a couple of skyscraper high-rise projects over the years, and there's a lot to pay attention to. Things that you don't really think about. Even Austin's an old city, so even driving a crane truck down an alley and the weight that an alley can hold in order not to collapse, to put a crane truck in there, and kind of like working with city engineers and figuring all that out. But it kind of leads me to the next thing to talk about. So on your website, and obviously you're really successful at this over the years, you put a huge emphasis on project management, and that is sort of the thing that you're using the most to take care of your clients. It's like I was telling you earlier, I talked to a lot of sign shop owners these days, and I was talking to a young guy the other day, and he was just saying how he's struggling, he's losing 25% in his mind of the leads that were coming in. And everything's in his head, everything's on scrap paper. And, you've heard that story from sign shop owners.
Sure.
And obviously you've done such a great job solving that problem with project management. So if you talk about, your project management philosophy, how it's developed over the years, and the importance of it in order to sustain a successful sign business?
Well, the one thing I would say to a new owner or somebody that's kind of young in the business is, first off, you don't have to have every job. Every job is not a good fit. There's some jobs that you don't want for various reasons, whether the client has the budget to do it properly, your schedule, or maybe it's a little out of your wheelhouse. So, that's the first thing I would say. But from a project management standpoint, I mean, we're a small company, so we have to stay fairly organized and follow up and pay close attention to detail. Good communication with the client is very, very important. And for us here at SignCorp, I'm involved in every job. I mean, I've got my hands in, and I'm personally involved in every job, as opposed to, say, a larger national company who has a salesperson that hands it off to somebody that does a takeoff and the estimating. If it's a different person, then you have a production manager, an installation manager, and then of course you have the executive people, and they're not as hands-on. But here we find that staying small, great communication with the client, and of course detail. You have to detail. The project management software is obviously a big game changer. There's no question about it. And we did it for years with spreadsheets and job jackets, and we spent more time looking for job jackets and spreadsheets than we did actually addressing the issue that we were trying to address. So just don't take every job that comes through the door, and make sure you pay close attention to detail and good communication with the client. So
I smiled a little bit when you said job jackets. I was just thinking of my sign shop and the bank, the banker boxes, the wall of banker boxes with back in the day. No, but it's true, and I was thinking about the conversation I had with the gentleman the other day, and he said he's losing about 25% of the jobs not coming through. And I think, that's not a bad thing if those jobs aren't right for you.
Sure.
But how are you evaluating which ones out of those that are good for you? So, and I think, managing the projects well, but also, how do you feel as far as project management, because you have such a strong emphasis on that, how has it helped with client development over the years, like in building trust with clients?
Well, the biggest thing is to let them know right up front. I mean, most clients, when they contact you, they're already behind the curve when it comes to a sign. I mean, that's just the nature. We're kind of we're the last thing they think about. Oh, I'm opening in 4 weeks. I need to get a sign. And we're located. We do work out of the state, but a lot of it is in the state of Florida. And it's 6 to 8 weeks by the time you do the engineering, the code research, the illustrations, and you get everything signed off, and you get courtesy reviews, and you make sure that it's gonna flow through the permitting process as best that you can. I tell my clients it's 45 days before we can even think about getting the permit turned in. And sometimes longer based on our workload. So really honesty with the client, being upfront with them, rather than taking the job and putting it at the back of the stack. And we all know we shuffle them, depending on the client's needs and complexity of the project. But definitely honesty with the client, clear communication on the time frame that it's going to take, because it just never happens as fast as the client would like it to happen. Or us. I mean, we don't get paid. We don't make a profit until we're done. So we're not dragging our feet. If the job is taking a long time or longer than it should, it's because it's not through permitting. Sometimes, the engineer's behind, it takes a couple of weeks to get that done. So it's, if it's all conveyed to the client up front and they know what to expect, that'll get you a long way.
Yeah. Transparency is definitely the best policy for sure. And even like you said, it is true. Most signs are always an afterthought, right? So, what do you mean you can't have it ready in 2 weeks? Oh, what do you mean it's going to cost $10,000? But I think as you're developing relationships and you are transparent, you're communicating well, you will continuously build a base of clients that will trust you. And then you're not, first of all, you're not having to hustle as hard for new work. And then the clients you do have that trust you, they value what you bring to the table, right? So that they're willing to, not that you still have to be fair for pricing, but not, you're not worrying about just being in a competitive situation all the time. So,
Well, I will say, and I know, and I understand what this podcast is all about. And I know you're not looking for a plug, but I will say, we did the job jacket, spreadsheet, writing it on sticky notes, putting it on your monitor. I mean, the same thing we all do before you have a project management software.
mm-hmm.
And, we adopted, or we implemented the Sign Tracker software. And I'm just going to say it was a game changer without a doubt. And we appreciate the efforts that you've made. And, I know it's morphing and continuing to improve, but being able to look at all your jobs at one time, rather than shuffling through papers or job jackets or spreadsheets is a game changer. It's huge for us.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I'll make sure to send you a commission check after the podcast. Well, Oren, thanks so much for spending a few minutes with us. It's because if you look, the whole point of Behind the Signs is, just such a diverse, creative, talented group of people that work in the sign industry, right, that do the hard work behind the signs, that are helping people with their businesses or events or whatever it is, whatever your customer base is that you serve. So, and you are definitely one of those cool guys that has been very successful in the industry. And thanks for imparting some wisdom, especially on the project management side. So, just let us know if we can ever help with anything, and appreciate you spending time with us today.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having me.
All right, Oren. Take care, bud.
All right, take care.
If you are interested in being featured on Behind the Signs, we would love to connect with you and hear about the unique ways you are working in the sign industry. Please reach out to us on our Facebook group Behind the Signs and send us a direct message.